Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County. You may be with us today online, or you may be attending church, finally in person. Yay, yay, yeah. It's so good to see you. We have a few announcements to highlight from the newsletter. Reminder that today is the final Soul Matters discussion with Reverend Bob until it resumes in September. The discussion will be in person at 12:30. We will be inside at UUTC. UUTC is to provide food for the Haven on this Friday, June 25th. We need dinners and breakfasts that are pre-cooked. Donations of coffee, creamer, sugar, and milk are always appreciated. Drop off food between 3 and 5 p.m. on Friday. If you can help out, please sign up with Virginia McDonald. There's a sign-up sheet out on the counter in the lobby. UUTC is posting 2 part-time Sunday positions. One is for a nursery worker, the other for an AV tech person. Ads have been published, but please help by spreading the word. We plan to have coffee outside, fingers crossed, so please bring your umbrella as you exit immediately after the service, and we ask people to go out the 2 side doors. The small clipboard that's at the end of people's rows, sign it and pass it on to the next person. It's just for the people in your short row, and it's to ensure that we can contact trace if that was necessary. Our Unitarian Universalist themes for June are play and pride. To combine the themes, we gathered on a beautiful Brevard, North Carolina farm with members and straight supporters of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, queer, intersex, and asexual family in our church and our community to do the music videos you will see today. We thank all who participated for donating time and energy and for coming together to enhance this service. The music today is performed by Janice Cannon, Elaine Shaver, Carlene Reagan, and John Austin. I'm Alice Wellborn, and I thank you for being with us today. Thank you for joining us in this sacred place, this community consecrated by our commitment and our presence, whether virtual or physical. We welcome every person to participate in our loving, inclusive congregation. We require no creed or particular religious belief, asking only that you bring goodwill, an open heart, and an open mind. To any guests or newcomers we have with us today, thank you for taking the time to join us for worship. To our members and friends online, please continue to use the chat to commune with one another. We begin with a quote by Jeanette Winterson, Professor of New Writing at the University of Manchester. "Love demands expression. It will not stay still. Stay silent, be good, be modest, be seen and not heard. No. It will break out in tongues of praise, the high note that smashes the glass and spills the liquid." Raised by adoptive parents to be a missionary in a Pentecostal church, Professor Winterson was made to leave home at age 16 when she fell in love with another girl. Her mother asked her why she was still seeing this girl when she knew the consequences: homelessness. Jeanette replied, "She makes me happy." We have often struggled with our perceptions and biases towards people whose sexuality is different from the mainstream population. Love between anyone other than opposite-sex partners has often triggered strong reactions based on cultural and religious beliefs, and our own personal sexual preferences projected outward in a non-empathetic way. And while intellectually, many people have accepted gay people in their right to exist with full human rights, how deep does this acceptance go? Do we only approach this from the head, from our commitment to humanistic values? Or do we dig a little into ourselves to see where our own barriers are to self-acceptance, full acceptance? Where are our unconscious biases? Where are our questions? What are we afraid of? George Takei states, "We should indeed keep calm in the face of difference and live our lives in a state of inclusion and wonder at the diversity of humanity." Our call to worship is "Born This Way" by Lady Gaga, a song that celebrates all sexual and gender identities across the spectrum, from gay to straight, from cis to trans. I'm beautiful in my way 'cause God made no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way.
My mama told me when I was young, we're all born superstars. She rolled my hair, put my lipstick on, in the glass of her boudoir. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, 'cause he made you perfect, babe. So hold your head up, girl, and you'll go far. Listen to me when I say I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't hide yourself in regret, just love yourself and you're set. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Born this way, oh, there ain't no other way. Baby, I was born this way. Baby, I was born this way. Born this way, oh, there ain't no other way. Baby, I was born this way. Right track, baby, I was born this way. Give yourself prudence and love your friends. Subway kid, rejoice your truth. In the religion of the insecure, I must born to survive. No matter black, white, or beige, chola or Orient paint, I'm on the right track. Baby, I was born to be brave. I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track. Baby, I was born this way. Don't mind yourself and regret. Just love yourself and you're set. I'm on the right track. Baby, I was born this way. Oh, there ain't no other way. Baby, I was born this way. Baby, I was born this way. Born this way. Oh, there ain't no other way. Baby, I was born this way. Right track. Baby, I was born this way. I was born this way. I was born this way. I'm on the right track. Baby, I was born this way. I was born this way. I was born this way. I'm on the right track. Baby, I was born this way.
Isn't that great? From Eric Walker Wickstrom, reading 468 in our Singing the Living Tradition hymnal. We come together this morning because within us there's something that knows we need more than we can find in our aloneness. We know instinctively in the depths of ourselves that we need others for this journey of life, even though we also guard our independence and our individuality quite jealously. So let us celebrate all that makes us unique, yet also all that makes us one, and let us dream dreams of all that we can do together. Moving more deeply into our service, we light the chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism. These words by Jennifer Grayson are from the UUA's Worship Web collection. We come together every week, bound not by a creed or a mutual desire to please one God or many gods, yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change this world. In the ancient world, from Greece, Rome, Egypt, India, the strict categorization of sexuality did not exist, although expression of the different ways of being in the world was accepted. Even as recently as the 19th century, women lived with women, called Boston marriages, and no one thought anything of it. And according to the BBC History Extra, Victorians were more tolerant of sex between males than their 1960s counterparts. It wasn't until government started regulating marriage certificates in the 1800s that overt prejudice against same-sex couples became prevalent. The process that people go through to arrive at acceptance of LGBTQs is different in each of us. Today, we have two brave, sensitive people from our UUTC community, Jim Hardy and Jane Hilliard, who are willing to share with us their personal journeys.
I've been asked to share with you my own journey over the years coming out of the closet. Oh, not that closet. I started out as a decidedly straight male, and today, I still am. My closet was a closet of ignorance about sexual orientation, and until well into adulthood, that closet was completely dark. Sexuality was not discussed in my home, and the only time it was mentioned in high school was via some crude jokes among some of my male friends. In college, I had some friends who joked about being gay, And it wasn't until years later that I realized some of them weren't joking. At that time, I was pretty naive. Much has changed since then. I should say that I was never homophobic, but the idea of having sex with another male was decidedly unappealing. And to me, the main focus at that time was on the physical side and not on connection and relationship. Here's what happened to change all that. The AIDS crisis that began in the 80s drew attention to gay men and opened the door to much talk about sexual orientation. I paid attention and learned about the whole closet issue and how much fear and pain was connected to whether or not to reveal one's sexual identity and the sometimes disastrous results of doing so. It was incomprehensible to me how parents could turn their backs on their own children. I felt deep sympathy for those who had to bear the burden of all of this. I've since learned about the various kinds of sexual orientation and the labels that are used to describe them. I've come to realize that orientation is not really binary, but operates on a continuum from 0 to 100 and can change over time. But that's the intellectual part. It's the personal connections that have taught me that love is love, no matter with whom it is shared. In 1977, my first cousin Dave came out of the closet as a bisexual man. Dave is one of the most important people in my life. He's 5 years older than I am, and for several years, he carried me through some very painful times after the death of my father at 13. I love him and his wife, Sandy, deeply. Over 65 years, we have shared many happy times together. Dave's experience as a bisexual man is somewhat unique because he and Sandy maintained a loving marriage during the time he was with other men. This year, they celebrate their 60th wedding anniversary. Dave chronicled his journey in his memoir, I Took Both Roads. I edited that book. Both Dave and I are very close to another first cousin named Ed. Ed had a long and loving marriage with Patty, and together they raised two beautiful and talented children. 20 years ago, Patty died of cancer. Since then, Ed has established a very close relationship to another man, and together they're very happy. Today, I've learned to forget the labels and to see others as the whole, wonderful, complete human beings they are, and to see those they love in that same way. I honestly don't think much about sexual orientation anymore. What I do think about is that my life is so much richer for the love and connection to both relatives and friends who claim a different orientation than mine. Today, I can honestly say, I'm out of the closet.
Good morning. Up until age 16, I did not know that anyone I knew was gay, and it was not something my family or friends discussed. And then at 16, I briefly met my boyfriend's gay uncle at a family gathering of his. When his uncle entered the room, I became very uncomfortable. He hardly said a word, and then he went off to another part of the house to be alone. But I still vividly recall the tension that remained in my body for quite a while afterwards. Thankfully, over time, I had the chance to be with more individuals who were gay. At college, and then after John and I were married and part of a UCC church in Michigan, my body tension no longer happened, and I felt totally accepting, thanks to gay friends that I grew to know well, who were open and sharing with me. In my mind, I came to know that we were all very much alike, and their experiences and viewpoints truly added richness to mine. I felt totally accepting, easily living that acceptance and sharing it with others, including many discussions with my daughter and son. But I had more to learn, as I soon discovered. When my daughter was 20, she came to me to share that she was gay. It was not an easy time for her, and I wanted to continue to reinforce each day that she was loved being exactly and fully the beautiful, loving person that she was. While she returned to college, I found a local group of parents and friends of lesbian and gays, PFLAG for short, to learn all I could to be the best support possible for her. At my first meeting, I sat in a circle with other parents and friends of gays and lesbians, as well as with a lesbian couple who sat directly across from me. And I noticed that they were holding hands. I immediately felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. To my surprise, I realized that even though I was totally accepting of the idea of being gay, I was totally 100% on board with that. But seeing these two women holding hands, physically showing their love, even in this simple way, was not part of my acceptance yet. My head was saying yes to being gay, but my gut was saying no to any physical display of it. After the meeting ended, I walked over and sat beside this couple and introduced myself, and I asked them for a favor. I said I was having difficulty seeing them hold hands, and I wanted that to change. I asked if they would allow me to sit by them at future PFLAG meetings so I could grow more comfortable with it. They were wonderful, and they graciously agreed. And they told me that it was okay to continue for as long as I needed. In time, it became more and more natural to me to see them physically touching, to share their love for one another. And from that comfort level, I then slowly grew to also accept fully that same-sex partners sharing private sexual intimacy was just as natural and loving as opposite-sex partners sharing private sexual intimacy. It has taken a village of dear people in my life, including my beautiful daughter, my LGBTQ friends, and the PFLAG lesbian couple who held hands, to expand my vision to include all the richness that we're so lucky to have that creates our wonderful human diversity. And I will forever be grateful.
Thank you, Jim and Jane, for sharing your personal journeys of acceptance. Many of us can trace dropping our barriers to inclusion directly to the gay rights movement and the bravery of the people who have participated in gay pride events across the country and the world. Gay people have been willing to risk everything to present the mainstream culture with overt, in-your-face sexuality. They've made us confront our internal resistance to acceptance. We must, however, ask ourselves, where do the half-naked, media-loved gay pride revelers go, and what do they do on the other 362 days a year? Let's take a look.
So far, and then there comes a time
And this is what they do. They go to work, they grocery shop, raise families, everything and more that you saw depicted in the previous music video. In other words, they are us. And we are the love that flows through the universe, the love that permeates everyone and everything we see, the love that creates our lives. Think back to 16-year-old Professor Winterson's response to her mother, "She makes me happy." It's that simple. He, she, or anyone else in between who we fall in love with makes me happy. Reverend Anna Levy-Lyons, senior minister at the First Unitarian Church in Brooklyn, states in her sermon, "We are one and we are loved. We yearn for the very things that we know deep in our soul to be true. The reason why we're all here in this room is that we yearn for connection to others, an end to our isolation and separation, and we yearn to love and be loved. This oneness and this love are here for the taking. It's not somewhere else. It's right here, right now. We play a part in bringing the worlds closer together, the material world and the world of radiant cosmic love. When we viscerally feel the love and oneness of the universe, instead of limiting ourselves to an ego-centered thought process about oneness, our judgments will fall away. Let it be so. Cycle of Life ritually holds our collective joys and sorrows in loving community. If you are at home, I invite you to share your personal passages by using the chat function if available. And though I cannot read the comments, I will light a candle in their honor. If you are here and have a joy or sorrow, please write it on a scrap of paper and give the paper to Reverend Bob. The paper is by the baskets. I'm going to start with 2 candles for our UU mission. Maybe. This one is for cultivating a spirit of hospitality, growing from a desire for authentic relationship. I don't have my helper. You gonna be my helper? I'll be your helper. Oh, good. There you go. And here's its companion candle for the other part of our mission, for sustaining and encouraging one another in love. This candle is for our beloved fathers who have helped guide and encourage us throughout our lives, and for the fathers who are no longer with us in body, but will live in our hearts forever. We remember them on this Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of you dads. This candle is for the losses we have endured over the course of the pandemic. And this one is for the joy of beginning to return to each other in body as well as in mind and spirit. I light a candle to honor the inspiration and support each of us has received from each other as we continue to break down any barriers to relationship with any human being. I light a candle for the joys and concerns that have been shared this moment online. And I light one final candle for all the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken at this time. Let us hold all our brimming hearts in love in the spirit of prayer, meditation, or simply being quiet in the power of this unique moment. Our contemplation today comes from Richard Rohr, a world-renowned spiritual writer and Franciscan friar based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. When we live out of the truth of love, instead of the lie and human emotion of fear, we will at last begin to live. Embracing a love ethic means that we utilize all the dimensions of love: care, commitment, trust, responsibility, respect, and knowledge in our everyday lives. Let's take a moment to pray or meditate about our commitment to all of those who are not invited to the welcome table in our country. Spirit of life, help us to live our lives out of the truth of love rather than the fear of those who might be different from us in some way. Everyone is beautiful in their way because God makes no mistakes. Help us to see and respect the beauty and love in all of us, not just those who are like us, and enter the world of inclusion and wonder with open minds and open hearts. Let us listen in a spirit of meditation as we immerse ourselves in the oneness of love.
Big smile. Look at this. Feel like I'm starting. I'm your new minister. It's been almost 13 months since you voted me in as your new minister. Look, here we are. All right. Oh, this is so wonderful. This is the beginning of something. It's the next normal. It's the wonder of being able to be together, being in this space. And one of the notes passed along noted as we lit the candle for the chat box and whatever was passed up, an absolute joy to drive into the parking lot and see cars and enter the building and see friends and experience the service and be fed. Thank you to all that make it possible. Yeah. Thank you to all who showed up to make it worthwhile. And those of you who are still watching online as well. Thank you for hanging in there. So it's good. It is good to be in a ministry, in a church that is open. Now, I use that in two different ways with today's sermon theme. All right, so the doors are open. But we also know that this is the place in which we are open to diversity in this Pride Month and all that went before. I have very little to preach about with all that was in the videos that you saw. But I'm going to preach anyway. Think of this place. Think of this place and what it means to have a community and institution. With all that was said here about the different ways in which LGBTQIA plus folks show up, and Pride, there was something that Alice said in there about how at Pride, ordinary people go half naked in the street. Catherine, I'd like you to show a picture of me at Pride. Here we go. There is your minister half naked. This is for me, not to be wearing a tie is half naked. So there I am at Pride with other Unitarian Universalists as a religious contingent going in a community Pride event. And the big smile on my face and the chance to be surrounded by others who are celebrating as well, as you can tell from the back as well. This is why we come to church, because we know we can show up with all sorts of people, allies, LGBTQ folks who walk in the door and say, my religious views aren't exactly the same as your religious views. And we say, cool, let's learn more. We've learned over time to accept some diversity. You know, I was reading the surveys that were coming out now, and apparently in every, in each or every, I don't know what is the correct way to say it, political party, it's now more than half of every political party that was surveyed says that the folks are on board, more than half are on board with same-sex marriage. Now, and I think of this congregation, and UU congregations, I don't know, when were you founded? But from probably, I would guess more than half of you were okay with it, like in 1999. Not everybody, but, you know, like that kind of thing. And that's a challenge, folks. Unitarian Universalism is a very challenging place for people because we are ahead of the trend. I mean, in 1999, would you think that, yeah, not only are we in favor, but it was going to happen? Are you, as you walk in the building, really ready to deal with folks who are different? And This is the hardest part. If you're a visitor watching online or in this room, this is the hardest part of Unitarian Universalism. We don't give you a piece of paper with a list on it and say, memorize these and you're in. We say, you be you. Do you know how hard that is in America? You be you. And here's a place where that happens. Please, you be you. I don't know how you were brought up or how society was trying to shape you, but I remember most of the 80s, I tried to be nice. And then I decided I'm not doing this anymore. Or maybe you were told, well, just be quiet. This is one of those places where to be ourselves, we need each other to just be able and willing to listen with love. Wow, how hard is that? Nowhere in society do we have that reinforcement. I say nowhere. But there are people catching up, even in the midst of the ways in which political fundraising is trying to get us not to do that. This is one of those places where you show up wearing whatever you wear. Show up as you are, with your hair color, whatever color it is. Even if it wasn't one of the ones on the Breck list back in 1972. You know, this is where you show up and your minister is in the pulpit wearing red Pride sneakers. Yeah. This is why we come to church, and this is why it's so challenging to be who we are. And this is one of those places where there are pride and ways of doing it in different ways. Now, Catherine, I'm going to ask you to show the second photo of pride for Bob Ringelian. So this is Pride 2020. How did I celebrate Pride? I was in my house. The door is closed. I didn't want to see anybody. I sanitized my hands all the time. I wiped down my groceries. That's still okay. You can be proud in your house. You can be an ally in your house. And it's okay. Sometimes the pandemic requires. And that's a little different from being in the closet. That's, you know who you are. You're okay with who you are. You're okay. Not just okay. Maybe celebrating. Again, this is why we come to church. For us, the ability to be part of a community and know we're a part of a community even when we are off by ourselves. To know that there is a place in which we are known and loved. To be able, in our own ways, to know. Now, last week, Jean Rowe had a sermon in which she talked about racism and other things through Path of Life. And I want to bring up the intersectionality of things. So we had Pride Month, and we also had Juneteenth. This is the other note that we had. We enjoyed to celebrate Juneteenth yesterday, and I think it says Rosenwald, and we're happy to see so many UUs there. Yeah. And when we open our services each week, we try to say you're welcome here, no matter your race, your national origin, your orientation, your gender, and we layer a whole bunch of things of how we're welcome. But think of how the layers may occur in each of us. We may be of a different national origin and something else. We may encounter in society and need to be in society in which we realize there are people who are being categorized during Pride and being categorized because of their race and being stuck with some really big challenges because of their economic situation. And that's why we come to church too. Because we know that we're here to serve just about anyone, and we don't need any Supreme Court to tell us that we have the religious right. We have the religious right to accept and celebrate difference. When, for instance, this week, if you sign up on the countertop to fill in those last spaces for serving at the Haven or bringing the food needed for the Haven, we don't stand there and ask, well, who's this going to? We say, this is us. This is us with our heart showing up. This is what we learn, and this is what we show. I love being a Unitarian Universalist and thinking of all the congregations I've been in and the ways in which the differences and the joys of seeing and being able, as you may have seen on the screen, all of us being able to show up. But did you know that people here could, at least for a few seconds, pull off a Renaissance dance on camera? Wow. I'm looking forward to learning more about you as this pandemic gets done and we're, hey, clear the floors. Let's see more of that. Because our theme is play. How we play with this. We're not just, we're here. Thanks, we're here. We show up. We show up with our whole self, our heart and our joy and our sorrows. We show up and light the candles. We show up and feed others. We show up online when we can't show up in person. And I'm proud. I'm proud to have an open church in all of what that means. I'm proud for this new start that people have been wishing for. Yeah, and I'm out and proud too. But all of us, let's celebrate. Now that we've had all this great stuff and you're feeling good about being back and the energy's so high, I'm going to point to the baskets at each of the usher stations. They will not be passed to you. We did have the contact tracing list that you're supposed to make sure everybody signs in on in your short row. But we won't be passing the baskets. When you're ready at the end of the service to put something in before exiting, please do that. And those of you online, you know how to push a button in Realm or our website, give online, or even just old-fashioned write a check and make sure it gets to us. And what you give with love, we receive with joy, and we say, thank you. All right. I'm going to get ready to extinguish the chalice when we have our closing song, our closing hymn going on. I want you to think about the way in which that light will glow as you carry it from this service, this message, this joy, this sense of who we are as you go out into the world, being you, or knowing that you can be you when you get back here, if you're one of those tough spots. In whatever way that you feel comfortable showing your light to others, may we remember that this is what we're about, and it is a benediction to Transylvania County and the world. It's a good day to be alive in Transylvania County. May you go out and remind people of who we are and the love that we share. May you join now in watching the hymn, our final hymn of the morning. The words will be on the screen for those of you at home.